what, 70% of the cast of Baywatch. Jeremy Jackson's a good friend of mine. He introduced me to Nicole, and then I got to know what Tracy and Erica, and they've all been on the show. So now it's your turn,
Yeah.
which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, so it made sense that I should come on and meet you. So now you know 75% of the
One
cast.
of the things about the Imperfectly Perfect podcast is obviously removing all the accolades, removing everything that you've achieved. We're going to touch base on it, but I want to know about the person behind the profession, which people often don't see or they paint a picture. So how did you move into this industry, Brandy, and who's the woman behind it all?
Well, I moved into it from a very, I guess, young age. I mean, I've always wanted to be a part of it. Ever since I was a young child, I was, putting on performances for the neighbors and my parents and, doing stuff from a very young age. And then in middle school, also doing drama and high school and college, minoring in theater and, all the things. So I kind of laid the foundation. And I was living in Northern California, which there's not like a whole lot of casting in Northern California. It's all in Los Angeles. So I had kind of reached the limit that you could in that area doing like extra work in big movies, productions like The Rock with Nicolas Cage. And I was on 2 episodes of Nash Bridges with Don Johnson and Cheech Marin, doing those kinds of things that you can do. But at the ripe old age of, I think 22 or 23, I said I better move to Hollywood. It's now or never. I'm not getting any younger. So I packed up a U-Haul, sold my car, packed up a U-Haul, and moved to Los Angeles and slept on my friend's couch for the first couple months and didn't have a car. He would lend me his car that didn't even have a first gear. So I'd have to start off in second gear, to go to my auditions and stuff, which I'm so thankful to him that he did that for me. But yeah, that's kind of how it all started, just like living the Hollywood dream and moving and starting in my acting classes and worked my way up.
But people don't realize that what you said there to get to your audition. So I come to LA most years, and everything's far apart, isn't it? It's not like if you don't have a car, you can't just walk to an audition. Everything's so sporadically like everywhere. So
Yes. And you really can't like take a bus or anything really. It's not set up for that kind of system, in Los Angeles. It's really not friendly like that. It doesn't, you don't have the train system, the metro or any of that stuff. So yeah, you really do have to have a car and know how to drive. So if you're from, an area like New York, maybe in Manhattan, where you don't even drive or never learn to drive, you're gonna have to learn when you go to California.
yeah, it's ironic that the amount of people obviously being from Australia and they see me going to LA and knowing the likes of Jeremy and everyone, and they're like, so is it just like celebrities everywhere? I'm like, everything's so spread out. It's not like you
Yeah.
see like this, that, and the other. But when it came to
Right.
moving there, obviously you're this aspiring actress, you're moving. A lot of times we don't see behind the scenes where people are struggling for those end bits. They're having to work on the side, get to auditions. When did it start moving for you? As in you started booking and thinking, I can really secure this into a full-time career? Because we know there's ups and downs within that profession.
Um, well, I am one of those people that believes if I set my mind to something, I can do it. So I always believed and felt that I could do it. It was just a matter of time and getting there and when I'm going to get there. But, my first real good gig, my first like acting role, right, a speaking role was 90210. So I think like it gave me the confidence once I got that first speaking role in a TV show that I love and had been watching, for so many years. So that was kind of exciting and gave me that little boost of confidence to move forward and then moved on to doing 2 episodes of Love Boat and then, just continued doing all these independent films and then finally, booked the series regular role in Baywatch, which that was really like, oh my gosh, I've made it. I'm on the number one watch show in the world, like here we are. So that's, where it really catapulted. But, I always tried to have that confidence in myself. And those little bit parts, kind of started to build that up.
So I always say there's essentially when you hit Baywatch, it's like 1.1 billion viewers worldwide or something crazy like that. You don't just hit fame. You go to notoriety, you go to superstardom with something like that. How did you cope with that? And I'll just give a quick shout out because you was also like with a good Australian, Simone McKinnon.
Yes.
I was talking to her to get her on the show some time ago, and she's a lovely lady. But what's that like going from, okay, so you've just stepped in, you've done a few roles, and then all of a sudden you just go whoosh straight to the top, paparazzi, and thank God there was no social media at that time because everyone's like, that's crazy. How was that
Yeah.
for
Um, I feel like, I guess because it was such a gradual thing with, I didn't feel like overwhelmed or anything. And again, I wonder if I didn't feel so overwhelmed because we didn't have the crazy social medias and the camera phones and where your entire life would be in everybody's face, right? You had to be at that certain restaurant at the right time to have paparazzi take a picture. It was just, and if you didn't want your picture taken, you wouldn't go to that restaurant. It's just, it was a different time. So it wasn't like so crazy thrown in our face like it might be for the kids nowadays.
you?
So for me, it was perfect because when you wanted to be seen, you'd be seen, and when you didn't have to be. Um, so I think it was just a little bit of a different era. And I kind of started, I feel, a little bit later than most. So I had a little bit of a good head on my shoulders by the time it all started kind of rolling and happening. It's not like I was fresh off the boat at 18 years old and getting cast. I think I was 25 when I got cast on Baywatch. So I was already here for a quarter of a century. Um, so I feel like, thankfully I already had a little bit of a good head on my shoulders going into it. Um, yeah, and I just was so very thankful. And even back then, it's like, you learn as you get older and you become a better person and you realize that you have to be grateful for so many things. But even back then, I feel like I just had so much gratitude and so much excitement and thankfulness to God and to, just to everything that I really was able to enjoy it.
Yeah. But where did that come from? Because like you mentioned there, God and this gratitude thing is you seem obviously so grounded in yourself at an early age, even though you said you've been there like a quarter of a decade. Did that come from your parents, the upbringing that they always taught you that to know it? And when you mention God, I've spoken to a couple of people and it's like they just knew there was this unfiltered belief that they would make it. And you said that at the beginning of this talk. So where did that come from?
I've always been told by certain people that I have an old soul. And so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But I have been always told that, and I do feel that. But I will have to give most all the credit to my parents because my mom really instilled in me at a very young age that if you can accomplish anything you want as long as you work hard enough. And that was something that I believed because she told it to me, right, from a very young. So it was almost like, brainwashed into me. So I think the combination of being an old soul and having a mother that really instilled that in me, I think that really helped shape me growing up. And having that belief and confidence that I can do anything. If I want to be an actress, I can be an actress. If I want to do this, I could do anything. So yeah, it started at a young age, I think.
Beautiful. But with all that, with the notoriety, with paparazzi, with everything else, is there a time, because you are an advocate and you do speak out in terms of well-being and health and things like that, is there a time where you did experience any doubt or any kind of struggles within yourself? I know a lot of say, the Baywatch cast it was, which was a similar story to me, my past body dysmorphia even though I wasn't, I don't think I could have ever coped on a show like that, going through body dysmorphia. And I know Jeremy's situation was the same. Was there anything that you ever went through and experienced that how it shaped you as a person moving forward?
Um, well, I mean, what I can say is you don't always or I don't always feel good. I don't always feel at my 100%, my best. And I feel like, I'll go through waves some days, or weeks, or even months where I don't feel like doing anything.
Mm.
Um, and I feel like maybe a little lost, or um, motivation's gone, or, whatever it might be, just feeling like there's a cloud over me. I go through those moments, and I let myself go through them because I know I'm going to come out of it. So I'll let myself feel what I'm feeling, and then after a certain amount of time, I'll be like, okay, time to snap out of it, time to get back in your routine and get going. And then something will just get triggered and will trigger me to start over and start my routine and start my morning meditation and my affirmations and my visualization and my working out, my running, my walking, my Pilates, my done, whatever it might be. So I just really can pull myself out of that. But I do go through it. I feel like not everyone's going to feel great all the time. You
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Because that's a big part of the campaign is a question that I ask every single person, and it can allude to either mental health or just well-being in its general sense. What does being imperfectly perfect mean to you, Brandy?
Imperfectly perfect. I think that for me, it's that we're all perfect in our own way, no matter what that is. We are all perfect the way that we're supposed to be, um, in this time that we're in right now.
Because you've got a young family as well. With the sense of social media coming up now, and obviously your kids being a part of that generation, like with the career that you've had so successful in the public eye, I'm not sure if they're wanting to move into this industry, but whether or not social media is pushing kids into this industry in a sense that they're being seen everywhere, like what do you always tell them from your experience?
Well, one thing that I I don't know if I should say I don't get it, but when kids nowadays they want to do certain things because they want to get so many likes on their Instagram or whatever it might be, and I'm always asking the question, why?
Yeah.
No, if that's not your job, let's say, and you're not making money or what, why does it matter? Like, I try to convince or tell them that that type of stuff does not matter. Don't get validation from whoever's out there in the world that you don't even see every day.
Yeah.
Like that shouldn't matter. But it's hard because that's their generation and that's what they grew up on, that's what they want and that's what they like. And so it's really tough because you're going against essentially brainwashing. That's the way I kind of look at it. I mean, it really is when you're seeing something over and over again, and they are gearing it towards you and your mind and what you're looking at, that is brainwashing. So it's really hard. And I feel really bad and sad for the younger generation that has to live like that, honestly, because we grew up, or I grew up, I know I'm older than you, but I grew up in a time where it was just, you just were outside running, playing with your friends, riding your bikes, creating forts outside and tree houses, and you didn't have to deal with all that other stuff. You weren't having stuff thrown in your face, or it's AI generated women or men, so it makes you feel inferior, and you're looking at that thinking it's real when it's not.
Mhm.
Um, so I feel like we were so lucky, us older generation, to be able to grow up in a generation where we didn't have all that, to give us those insecurities.
Well, I was only saying this the other day. It was like you played out until the street lights came on, and then you knew it was time to come home. And these days, it's like everyone's just sat on their computer. But again, I always say from a personal point of view, from your experience, Brandy, what would you say to that generation in terms of you can still build a successful career like you have, and we'll talk about your directorial debut with your new film Wineville, but you can still be successful. You can still do that. What is that kind of thought process for you in terms of how you do make it per se in Hollywood to any aspiring people out there that think, oh, I need these followers, I need these likes, I need this, I need that.
Well, I mean, if that's what you're trying to do, if you are trying to, let's say, be an actor or actress, and it is your job because you want people to follow you, then I get it. I mean, you have to do what you need to do. But what I will say for sure, hands down, you better have the talent to back it up,
Mm.
meaning you better be going to your acting classes because acting is a muscle and you have to constantly be working out. So I would say if it's something you really want, you have to you have to go to classes and work out that acting muscle. B, you have to think outside the box. You have to do things that other people will are not willing to do, and do things differently than other people. Read every acting book that you can find, listen to every podcast. And when I say read, I mean audiobooks, whatever. Knowledge is key to everything. Learn the tricks and the trades. Learn everything you can about this field that you want to be in. And even, as far as if it's just acting, great, learn everything you can about anything, acting from any book or podcast. But also, to understand the whole field, read a book about producing, read a book about directing, about all the things. Because, down the road, you might find that you might want to pivot. And just even understanding their job when you go into it as an actor is important. Um, just all the things that you can do to immerse yourself into that world is what I would say.
You mentioned something before in terms of just building everything that you have, and then you went on the Celebrity Apprentice. What did you learn in terms of business acumen? Because people often see actors, actresses, but they don't realize, like you were mentioning earlier, learn the craft, learn producing, learn the business side of things, learn everything. So then you moved into Celebrity Apprentice and you really showed those skills on there. Did you take
Yeah.
anything away from there that obviously catapulted you to the next level in business in terms of the acumen yourself?
I mean, I've always been very business oriented. I got my real estate license as soon as I turned 18. I graduated high school a year early so I can go to real estate school. Um, but being on the Celebrity Apprentice, the thing that I learned was that you can do so much more than you think. We did things in 2 days that I think normally would take somebody in a company 2 months. So that was one thing I learned is if you really want to and you really push yourself and you work hard, you can do so much more than you ever imagined. And that is something I took with me in business because you also see people and they're doing things, oh, I can't get that done in a week. Or I'm like, excuse me? Yes, you can,
Yeah.
because you really can. If you need to knuckle down and get it done, you can. And that's one thing that I know now that I can get a lot done in a small amount of time.
Everything's just like this trajectory that you've been on, and then your directorial debut, Wineville, like that's
Mhm.
my kind of movie. I love the horror
Yeah.
genre, the thriller kind of thing. So looking forward to
Nice.
that. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, it is a horror slash thriller, and it was based in 1978. And I am heavily influenced by like those old late 70s, early 80s horror films. And so it's based in 1978. It is about a really effed up family. There is a young girl at 15, which was my character, that ran away from home because some really horrific things happened to her at 15 and ran away. But then she finds out that her father has passed away, so she has to go back home to the family vineyard to take care of things. But when she gets back, she finds that things have only festered and gotten worse as she's been gone. And now not only does she have to try and escape just herself, but now she has to try and escape with her 11-year-old son. So we don't know if they will get out alive or not because they are with this horrific family of serial killers.
So how was that moving behind the camera? I know you've done producing, you've done everything, but this is your debut as a director. What's the response been? How was the process? And did you enjoy being behind the camera a lot more?
Um, I loved it. I loved everything about it. I mean, the producing, just producing, putting the whole thing together. That to me was, it brought me so much joy. I remember just going on set the very first day and just looking around. I had this like, just this fullness, this feeling of excitement. I wasn't scared. I was excited, and it was just like a really wonderful feeling that I got just finally getting there. But I loved everything from the pre-production process. The casting was just so much fun. I really enjoyed that. However, it's very hard because everyone that sent in their auditions, I will tell you, everyone was good. And that's one thing for actors to understand. Just because you don't get chosen doesn't mean you weren't great, because it's just a thing that when the writer has a certain visual person in their head, that when it comes across the screen when we're casting, that's the person, right? Because that's who they envisioned. So it's just that, you could have still been great at the audition, but just weren't that exact person that the writer envisioned, or the director. Um, so that part was fun. I really loved the casting process. This coming up with the story, with the amazing writer Richard Shankman, us going back and forth with these crazy, really effed up storylines. You'd think, I mean, I'm just such like a sick and twisted person, coming up with crazy things,
Yeah.
along with Richard. But so that part was really fun for me. I love creating. I love coming up with stories. And during shooting, it was insane during the actual shooting process, because I am the producer. I'm the only one on set. That's it, me. So people had to come to me for everything, like even day one, our costumer got COVID. So we had to figure that out on day one. One of our set dressers sprayed spray paint in her eyes and had to get her, to the emergency. And, there was always something going on that I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I loved it. I loved it. The days went by fast, it was crazy. And then in post-production, I loved the editing process. That was just so much fun for me, creating, coming up with adding certain sounds and birds here and the sound of a saw here, and, coming up with the music, picking the music. There's just I just loved it all. I love it.
So clearly, with the energy as you speak about that's your baby. How long did it take you?
From start to finish, I want to say it was 2.5 years at least. I think 2.5 years from the moment it was a thought in my head to the moment it came on Amazon, or wherever. Yeah, I would say about 2.5 years. So it's a long process.
So, just for anyone out there, I just want to ask you this one quickly because there's a lot of times people see the end result. They see you on shoots, they see you acting, they see this, and that's why I say like 2 years. What is that process like? Like just condensed. You have this idea, you then need to reach out to your contacts, presumably you need to get investors for the film, or none of this happens. So anyone with an aspiration going, I want to make that film, what is the reality?
Um, well, yeah, it is a process. And for me, I was lucky because I had so many connections over my 25 years or more, 27 years of being in the business. So I called upon so many people and asked a lot of questions. I never am one of those people that think I know it all. I ask questions and I sit and I listen to everything. And again, I read every book and I watch every podcast. I go on YouTube and I just learn as much as I can. I ask questions, I learn. But yes, it comes up with an idea, a story. And if you're a creative person, which I hopefully you are, if you're wanting to make a movie, then you come up with your own story. Like come up with the story. You could even write it yourself or hire someone that is really good at writing a script and they can write it. But that's part of it. Coming up with the location. For us, we found the location first and built the story around that. And the one thing that people don't realize when they're first, here's something. One thing people don't realize when they're first creating a project, a story, they come up with these elaborate stories. Let's say, oh, this is happening in space or that, and all these different locations. And what they don't realize is that will cost a fortune.
Yeah.
So, if you're wanting to create something that you can do in one location. And even if you could do it in one room, or you know what I mean? Like what, build a story around one place, one location. Otherwise, because that's going to save you a lot of money and it'll be a lot easier to get financing on a movie that is just set in one location. And pick a location where the actors, you don't have to fly in actors, you don't have to put them up in hotels, all these things that, will cost a lot of money. But yeah, so I would start with that kind of, create a story that you can create from one location. Think about your specific location first. And then if you're the actor, create a storyline of a character that you think you can act easily, that you would be good, and come easy to you, as opposed to trying to figure out something like crazy with a woman with or a man with a dialect or, something along those lines. Let's start out, kind of easy. So I would start kind of there.
I just take my hat off to people that go after their dreams and bring things back out because at the end of the day, this is my last question for you. What would you say, any advice for anyone out there? It doesn't have to be aspiring actor or entertainer, but just questioning themselves because you left at a young age and you went for your dreams and you've clearly not looked back.
Well, I will say what my mom always said to me. If you want something bad enough, go out and get it. And you can get it as long as you work hard enough. And I will say, think outside the box. You really have to think outside the box and do all the things that people are not willing to do. You have to educate yourself on your dream, whatever it is you want to do. If it's acting, like I said, go to acting classes, read every book about it, watch every podcast. You can succeed in anything that you put your focus on. And, dream about it, visualize it, meditate about it. I'm a firm believer that you can reach any goal that you set for yourself.
So, where can people find out more information about you, your film, and any other projects you've got coming up, Brandy?
Any of the social media sites, I'm on Instagram, X, Facebook, under Brande Roderick, also Wineville Movie. But one fun thing that I'm doing, for anyone that sends me a picture of them, showing me proof that they watched and rated my movie Wineville on IMDb, I'm going to send them a special shout out back to their social media. So I would love it if people would support, and I will support them and follow them back and give them a shout out.
Nice. Well, we will get that running across our socials for you as well. Thank you for
Yeah.
your time. It's been an honor. I just want to say, keep having the hard conversations because it's the hard conversations that truly do save lives.